Hello everyone and welcome back. I have a nice little painting process time lapse for you today. Nothing too crazy. While I was painting this, I didn't really have a topic or theme in mind. I was just kind of recording it for the footage, essentially. But while I was painting, I did kind of come across a nice little lesson or teaching, if you will. So today's topic is perfectionism. I just recently started my channel, so I imagine most of you are new watchers. My name is Mallory, and I am currently on a bit of a journey to rediscover my love for creating and to stop daydreaming about doing it and just finally actually do it. I am trying to build up my motivation and drive for creating art and trying to find ways to do this while working around my executive dysfunction. I'm usually a bit of a perfectionist, so it's hard for me to take a step back and let something not feel perfect. I think it's definitely important to take time here and there to just create and not put too much of an expectation on yourself and just paint to paint or draw to draw and not expect something super finished or complete or really fleshed out and detailed. I remember when I was a kid creating so much and not really caring what the outcome was, just drawing all the time and practicing and having so much fun with it. I felt like I was doing a lot of experimenting and trying new things and new mediums and having more fun with seeing how that went rather than just the final piece. And I haven't really created regularly like that in so long. So I'm going to explain a little bit about my thought process through this whole thing and then kind of wrap up and give a prompt of sorts at the end in hopes that this also helps other people who are struggling with art block or trying to get back into creating regularly but are feeling intimidated like I am for sure. So as I've talked about in another video, I have been really bad about creating regularly, essentially for the last 10 years, I would say, honestly. And the last time that I was creating just for the fun of it and not for anything school related or stuff like that was even longer than that. And that was probably when I was really starting to just learn how to draw and having fun with it because I was improving and developing a little bit of a style and getting motivation from seeing my skills improving. So essentially, the piece that I'm painting in this video is not necessarily my usual art style, and I think that is an important part of why this exercise worked out for me. Because all of my most recent paintings were created so far apart, my style feels like it's not very strong and refined, so I think trying to create something in my ideal style would have been a little bit harder to achieve and would have taken longer for me to finish this piece, just where I'm at right now in my journey of getting back to it. And that's because I would have been sketching and erasing and trying to create a nice layout for this piece, and I would have spent more time trying to figure out the subject, and while trying to figure all of this out, I would have drawn out the process even longer, and then this painting would have ended up taking days instead of just one sitting, and honestly, my goal was just to create something. I didn't want to get into some big project. So instead, this piece was definitely something that I was just creating just for fun and not really focusing on it having my style. And because I didn't focus too hard on sticking to my ideal style, it helped me have more fun with it, with just painting, and also was a nice practice on getting used to doing line work again and not feeling so rusty with the fact that I haven't been creating very much. I think it's easy to get caught up in perfecting something and having it come out exactly how you want. I'm definitely a victim of that. And so I feel like that definitely prevents me from just having fun with creating because I set the expectations too high and I don't want to let myself down if I don't end up liking it. Because when something doesn't come out how I expect it to, it sometimes sets me back a little bit and makes me overthink my skills or what I'm doing, or I just feel down about my work. And then, it kind of goes into a loop of, well, I suck because I'm not creating, but I'm not creating because I think I suck. And, it's not a good mentality. So I'm trying to be kind to myself and push through and just keep creating, because I'm not going to get better or get back into the habit of creating if I don't actually do it. So by forcing myself to keep painting, even though I'm feeling unsure on if I'm going to like it or not, it was really a great exercise in not expecting something to be perfect and creating for the sake of having fun and getting the paint down on the canvas rather than expecting a beautiful piece at the end. So with this painting in particular, I basically just started out with the background color, and it was only chosen because I had some leftover paint and I wanted to use it up. So I figured, let me just paint this canvas that I have. And then with the background painted, I then was really inspired with the color scheme that I chose. And I don't really even remember how it came to mind, but I immediately knew that I wanted to have a nice analogous blue color palette happening, and then with a pop of either one or two nice brighter pinks with it. And something about it, I was like, ooh, I really want to do that. So my original idea was drawing a portrait, because that's usually what I end up doing with my art, is mostly a lot of portraits, particularly of women. But after a while, I figured that I needed to not think about it too hard and just needed to find something relatively easy to paint. So my first idea was mushrooms, because I really love all the different types and styles of mushrooms out there. But then when I was thinking about this, I was having a hard time finding a good layout on the canvas to make it more interesting, which is kind of funny because I feel like the finished piece ended up not really having much of a layout anyways, and it was more of a pattern, but I did still try to add like a focal point in it. But I think that was important to this piece and like the process anyways, was not having so much of a like strong layout and just doing it. I'm not much of a doodler, so for me it was important to have a general idea of what I was drawing rather than just like fully winging it. And then eventually I was inspired by my phone case that has the ginkgo leaves pattern on it, and it's purple and it's overlapped and has a bunch of different shades and colors, and then at the very top there was there's just a layer of gold outline leaves rather than colored. So I didn't really use the exact pattern, I didn't follow it closely, I just used it very loosely as a reference, I guess. And I wanted it to be very graphic and focus on the color palette and then just have one subject. So it was very easy for me to just paint it in one sitting and get something out on the canvas while not feeling too intimidated. So having one repeated shape was very helpful in not overthinking things. I'm sure doing this with like 2 or 3 basic shapes or things would be great as well. And using the ginkgo leaves was nice because it was a fun shape to repeat, but also I could be really organic with it and I didn't have to worry about if it was 100% accurate or the same each time I painted it. So it definitely helped with being more loose and just focusing on getting some nice solid lines and coverage with the shapes. I recorded painting the first bit of line work on the leaves for a reel, and while I was doing that, I kind of paused after the first 4 lines or so and was really like, oh no, this is going to come out bad, I ruined it, this is not going to look good. I was contemplating if I should paint over it and then start again, and then I just kind of stopped and was like, no, you know what, I'm just gonna keep going. I'm gonna change how I'm doing these lines and see if it works. I'm not gonna give up and paint over it. I'm just gonna push through, and hopefully I can save it, and I can like how it comes out. And then by the end of it, I actually did like how it came out. So it was really nice that I didn't stop and rethink it or give up or change my idea. I just kind of kept going because I wanted to see my idea out and get the piece finished and not feel too worried about if I was really going to like it or not. Because if I didn't, I could just paint something else and keep going and toss it aside, It wasn't that deep. So having a simple concept and a simple color palette was really helpful with keeping me on track and allowing me to just have fun and not think about it too hard and be a little bit more loose with it. If I had spent more time on the planning or actually sketched out a portrait on this, I think it would have still been nice. I would have loved to see, a portrait with that color scheme, but at the same time, I feel like it really needed to just get something out on the canvas and create, because it has not been a habit to create regularly for me for a long time, and I definitely missed the feeling of finishing something and being happy with it to some degree, which I still do here and there, but I need that feeling more often, So I think if you're feeling some sort of art block, or you want to create but don't have the capacity to take on a big project, or you don't want to spend a ton of time on it, I think this is a fun exercise to just pick a simple color scheme with, 5 colors maximum, and then pick a subject and either make a pattern like I did and overlap these different colors to create some interest and depth, or perhaps just make some shapes or something, whatever is inspiring to you at the time, but it's something that doesn't feel like a big undertaking and that doesn't feel intimidating, because that's basically what's going to deter you from creating, I think. It's a lot of the overthinking that makes me not start something. And it's funny, I was really nervous about mapping out where these leaves were with the pink outline, and I sketched it out with pencil, but actually, I really could have just went in with the Posca pen and made it happen, because it came out nice anyways. I didn't really erase much. I was going to use the paint, but I decided to do the pen instead because I felt like the line work was going to come out better. But yeah, overall, I think that this painting was really beneficial to my journey in making art a true hobby again. I think if you're facing the same kind of struggle, I would definitely recommend giving this little process a try, or finding something that fits this sort of formula, but that works best for your desired medium. I don't really know what that would look like, but I'm sure you could probably translate this into different things. I think the goal is just setting up something that is fun, finding a good color scheme that really inspires you, and just making something that won't take too long. It doesn't have to be too in-depth or detailed, just something to get it out on the page, because otherwise you might feel too intimidated, you might push it off. Sometimes stretching out a project over multiple days just makes me not finish it, or something about stepping back into it is intimidating, and then all of a sudden it's a week later and you haven't touched it. So yeah, I think this was fun. This was a good idea, and I'm happy with how it came out, and I really recommend doing something like this. So hopefully this was helpful. Hopefully this is a good idea. Maybe you can try it out yourself, and I really appreciate you watching. I have some links to follow me on Instagram and Facebook down there, and I would love if you would give me a subscribe and a like, perhaps. And just because I'm so small and new, still starting out, so I don't really like having to ask that, but thank you, and I will see you next time.